Thingkho Le Malcha, by KSO Media and Documentation Cell, issue number 52, Thursday, 2 November, 2023. Headlines: KSO GHQ detailed alarming series of events happening at More, Sinam. KSO's 48 hours shutdown call enforced strictly in Lamka, Konggue. Looting of arms continues in Imphal, 3 central security personnel injured. State special forces in More have become terrorists? Women, children forced to flee. ZCSC submits memo 2 p.m., demands replacement of state commandos with central forces in More. Viral video: radicalized Meitei man burns down educational documents of tribal. Armed standoff: Meitei radicalized groups challenge AR. Top leader of Manipur state, cabinet ministers deliberately missed cut greetings. Who really is Ching Theon and Singh? Manipur government pro-Meitei measures are stimulants for separate administration demand. Thingkho Le Malcha. Relief Center update. Litan Sarikong Relief Center. Litan Sarikong Village. Lunchong Maifai Subdivision, Ukral District. Managed by Kuki Students Organization Ukral District. Total inmates registered, 556. Male, 269. Female, 287. Kuki victims update as on October 16, 2023. Deaths, 146. Villages burnt, 200 plus. Houses burnt, 7,000 plus. Churches and synagogues burnt, 360. Displaced persons, 41,425. KSO GHQ detailed alarming series of events happening at More, Sinam. The Kuki Students Organization General Headquarters, KSO GHQ, vehemently condemned the shocking and inhumane incidents that unfolded in More and Sinam village, Tengnipal district recently, where state forces were reportedly involved in acts of violence, looting, destruction, and torture against innocent civilians, including women and children. It said that those actions were not only appalling but also a grave violation of human rights and the principles of justice. In a statement issued on Thursday, KSO said, a series of alarming actions in More including looting of houses, destruction of properties, seizure of important documents and torturing of innocent civilians by the state forces have serious ramifications against the peace and tranquility set up in the border town. The terror act perpetrated by the state forces against the innocent civilians have caused untold miseries resulting in severe financial and emotional distress to the affected families, loss of properties and livelihoods for the resident. The seizure of documents such as ID cards and documents further endangered the rights and security of the residents. Shockingly, children and women were not spared from the brutality, with reports of physical and psychological torture emerged at this point. The terrible actions of the state forces at More and Sinam village are deeply troubling and represent a violation of the basic principles of safety, security, and respect for the rights of individuals and communities. The affected victims and their families deserve justice and support during this challenging time. The incident demands a thorough and impartial investigation to identify those responsible and bring them to account for their actions. It added, the KSO GHQ strongly condemned those actions and called for immediate and transparent investigations into the matter to identify and hold accountable to those responsible for such heinous acts. We demand that justice be served to the victims and their families, KSO urged. The KSO GHQ also strongly condemned the recent actions of MP Lyshemba Sanajaba for his alleged instigation of violence through social media. His public statement, where he openly called for an attack on More, is not only irresponsible but also dangerous and unacceptable. We call on the appropriate authorities to investigate this matter thoroughly and take appropriate actions in accordance with the law, KSO said, adding that promoting hate speech and inciting violence through any means, including social media, should not go unpunished. The KSO GHQ also strongly condemned the looting of arms and ammunition from the 1st MR and 2nd MR at Imphal. The use of these weapons to carry out attacks on areas like More and Sinam is not only a threat to the safety and security of the affected communities but also a severe violation of human rights. The illicit use of stolen weaponry in acts of violence endangers the lives and well-being of innocent civilians, disrupts peace and stability in the region, and undermines the principles of justice and human rights. We categorically reject such actions, as they have far-reaching and detrimental consequences for the people and communities in the area, it said. The KSO urged upon all relevant authorities to take immediate and effective measures to apprehend those responsible for the looting and to prevent further misuse of these weapons. The protection of human rights, the rule of law, and the safety of the affected communities should be paramount in addressing this issue. KSO's 48 hours shutdown call enforced strictly in Lamka, Konggue. The first day of the 48 hours total shutdown called by the Kuki Students Organization, General Headquarters, KSO GHQ, has brought all normal activities to a grinding halt in Lamka town, Churachandpur district. The shutdown was called in protest against the continued deployment of the occupational state forces in More, a Kuki-inhabited border hill town along Indo-Myanmar boundary. Since morning, supporters came out in large numbers to enforce the shutdown at various junctions of different localities and main road, interconnecting with other districts. Shops and establishments located within the localities were closed. The streets and marketplaces wore a deserted look as there was hardly any movement of vehicles except for security personnel, medical personnel and other essential services. Educational institutions and government offices remained closed. There was no report of any untoward incident during the shutdown. Meanwhile, the Kuki Students Organization has announced for a mass rally along with total shutdown to be carried out on November 3, 2023. Following the imposition of total shutdown for 48 hours in all Kuki-zo-dominated areas in Manipur by top Kuki-zo tribal bodies, a public protest was also held at different locations in Kuki-zo-dominated Kangpokpi district against the forceful occupation of Mor by the Meitei. All shops and business establishments and educational institutions in Kangpokpi district remained closed while the important National Highway 2 wore a deserted look as vehicles stayed off the road except those exempted from the purview of the total shutdown imposed by KSO General Headquarters and Committee on Tribal Unity Sadar Hills Kangpokpi. Volunteers were seen enforcing the total shutdown and blocking the highway at various places. The public protest organized by KOTU was held at Kangpokpi District Headquarters, Saparmina and Gamjafai where thousands of people mostly womenfolk took part in the protest at the three locations. The public protest was held under the same banner, protest against the forceful occupation of Mor by Meiteis in the three locations while shouting similar slogans, Save Mor from N, Singh, Save Kangpokpi from N, Singh, Save Chirachandpur from N, Singh, Save Kuki-zo from Meitei insurgents, Remove Meitei militants from Mor. We want political solution, we want separate administration, etc. The protesters also held placards that read, We want immediate withdrawal of partisan forces, the ill design of N. Singh costs innocent lives, Meitei insurgents are incorporated in the state forces, 6 months of unrest, where is peace, double engine or humanity, etc. Looting of arms continues in Imphal, 3 central security personnel injured. Even as the ethnic violence in Manipur between the majority Meitei and minority Kuki-zo continues for about half a year, fresh looting of arms and weapons still occurred in the capital city, Imphal.as per reliable source, on November 1 at around 6 p.m. Suspected Meitei radicalized groups numbering about 700 stormed the 1st BN Manipur Rifle Campus through the North Gate No. 1 in SUVs mounted with sophisticated weapons with an intent to snatch arms and ammunition from DGP Pool Armkote and Unit. Pool Armkote, Quarter Guard, 1 MR. The 1st Battalion of Manipur Rifles is located at just about 500 meters away from the high-security zone of Chief Minister's bungalow, Bapupara, Imphal. The security forces fired tear gas and live rounds and repelled the armed miscreants at around 7:45 p.m. Gunfiring between the armed miscreants and security personnel ensued for about 2 hours. It was reported that 03 personnel of K/152 Battalion CRPF deployed at North Gate, 1st BNMR sustained injuries in the scuffle when the armed miscreants tried to snatch their service weapons. The injured personnel were identified as Arab Das, 39 years, S/O Umesh Chandra Das of Dupgiri district, Assam, bullet injury in the right side shoulder, Nalajit Taluk Das, 27, S/O Romani Talukdar of Assam, minor head injury, and Lilkanta Raj, 29, S/O Pradeep Raj of Assam, minor injury on left finger. The armed miscreants took away arms and ammunition such as 2 tear gas guns and 1 AK-47 along with 3 magazines containing 88 ammunitions from the personnel deployed in and around 1st BN Mr. Campus. The escort personnel of IGP, Zone I, were also robbed and 1 KT-43, AK rifle, bearing number 7586 along with 3 magazines and 90 number of rounds. 1 KP-43, AK rifle, bearing number 6795 along with 2 magazines and 60 number of rounds, KP-43, AK rifle, bearing number 6915 along with 3 magazines, and 90 number of rounds, 2 numbers of AK rifles magazines and 60 numbers of rounds, 2 numbers of tear gas guns, I.E. 2K16 bearing number 23158 and 2K15 bearing number 20964, and 6 numbers of bulletproof caps and BP plate set of 4 numbers were taken away from the Armed Security of Manipur, Central Jail located at Old Lambulane. 1 AKM Gadak bearing registered, number 203900298 along with 2 magazines and 60 number of rounds, 1 AKM bearing registered, no. BA 44-7094 along with 3 magazine and 90 number of rounds, 1 INSAS rifles bearing registered, number 168413666 along with 3 magazines and 60 numbers of rounds, and 2 SLR magazines along with 40 number of rounds were taken away. Further, the armed radicals also destroyed IGP Prisons Office, Superintendent of Jail Office, JCO Room and took away 5 vehicles such as 1 Bolero and 1 hard-top Gypsy for IGP Prisons, 2 numbers of Gypsy along with 1 walkie-talkie set attached to the vehicle of Superintendent Manipur Central Jail Imphal, 1 Gypsy assigned to QRT, one hard-top gypsy assigned to senior FO and one gypsy assigned to escort of SP Sajiwa. The armed group also entered and ransacked the computer room of Manipur Police Control Room, NAB office and office of ADGP, INT, Manipur. They also fired at the office of CID, SB, and took away another one gypsy bearing No. MN01W0311 which was parked under locked and key at the main gate of Sanamahi Temple, first MR which was allocated to W. Ishwarchandra Singh, dy.co5thirb.in. In this regard a case has been registered at Imphal PS, police said. TLM views, though various arms and ammunitions have been looted from DGP Pool Armcote and Unit Pool Armcote, Quarter Guard, 1MR, the looting of arms failed to find space in the Meitei news media outlet. Even the authority concerned, the Home Department, which is headed by the Chief Minister himself, has no single press briefing in this regard till now. This raised serious doubts about the sincerity of the concerned department and the bias Imphal-based media outlets. Are the Meitei media and the state government colluding with the Meitei radicalized groups to conceal their sinister design of looting government armories, as most of the looted weapons are usually used for waging war against the Kuki people? State special forces and more have become terrorists? Women, children forced to flee. Forces on the innocent civilians of Moor, a Kuki-inhabited border town, has caused a distressing turn as the residents, mostly women and children, were compelled to leave their homes and sought refuge in the camps of Central Security Forces. The consequence of the presence of the Meitei police commandos is the Kukizos had to flee their homes. The combing operation carried out by the security forces in the aftermath of the killing of one Meitei police officer seemed to have become another excuse to loot and plunder household properties, and to commit atrocities to the innocent civilians of the border hill town. Women were not spared, they were harassed and tortured by the Meitei police commandos. It was said that the Meitei police commandos have vandalized several houses, vehicles, washing machines, TVs, and other household properties. They have also robbed money, gold necklaces and other jewelries. In Guvajang, the wife of the chief was beaten, blankets were also taken away with a warning that they would come again. The police commandos have also pointed their loaded guns at the women and tortured them. The atrocities on the Kukizo civilians resulted in the injury of 3 women including a minor, Hoijining Tout Hang, 46Y, W/On Gamlan Kipjen, Nanghoitham Kipjen, 15, D/O Sithang Kipjen, and Tinichong Kipjen, 33, W/O Sithang Kipjen. Questions thus arise. 1. Are state police forces formed or recruited to torture innocent civilians, rob money, steal gold necklaces, and damage civilian properties? Aren't they employed to maintain law and order? 2. Why are the Assam Rifles, sentinels of the Northeast, giving the state commandos a free hand and turning a deaf ear and a blind eye to the suffering of innocent civilians? 3. Has Manipur police become terrorists, robbers, and plunderers? The atrocities and havoc done to the people of Moor requires immediate intervention by the center government. If not, the volatile situation in the border town and surrounding areas could escalate and the end result will be the sole responsibility of the center and state governments. ZCSC submits memo 2 p.m., demands replacement of state commandos with central forces and more. The Zomi Council Steering Committee, ZCSC, submitted a memorandum to the Prime Minister today on the militarization of Mork Border Trade Center and called for immediate political solution for the Zo people, Zomi Kuki Mizo, given the continued discriminatory and genocidal actions of Manipur government. The memorandum highlighted the Manipur government's disparity in treatment of its citizens based on their ethnicity by citing the government's prompt reaction towards the recent killing of a Meitei police officer, Mr. Ching Theon Anand Kumar, on October 31, 2023, with the Chief Minister himself offering his condolences, announcing an ex gratia compensation of 50 rupees lakhs, promising a suitable government employment for the bereaved Meitei family and calling an emergency cabinet meeting to tackle the issue, while still choosing to remain silent on the matter of the Zo police officer, Mr. Onkamang Haokip, who was shot dead while in uniform by a Meitei militant sniper on September 13, 2023. The letter further explained the communal mindset of the state forces, naming in particular the Manipur State Commandos, whose presence in Zomi and Kuki areas always invited unwanted violence. It also explained how the forced deployment of the same state forces, Manipur Commandos, who were earlier rejected by the local people by airlifting them to Moor, had caused further tension, insecurity and violence. The ZCSC, acknowledging the importance of Moor Border Trade Center for trade and national security reasons, and with its management being a national subject, stated that it is most appropriate to deploy central forces like the army and paramilitary forces there. This is justified not only because of the current atmosphere, but also the national security threats from secessionist Meitei Valley-based insurgent groups, BIGs. In the interest of peace and national security, the memorandum called for the replacement of all the communally tainted state forces, especially state commandos from Moor, with central forces and the deployment of qualified and experienced administrators and superintendents of police, SPs, from amongst the Zo people in districts like Tengnupal, Kongue, Chundel, Farzal, and Lamka, as was done in the case of valley districts, for smooth administration and effective handling of the complex law and order issues. The memorandum concluded with a call to expedite the ongoing political talks with the Zomi and Kuki groups under suspension of operation, SOO, and consider the Zo people's demand for union territory with legislature and elucidated how the unceasing discriminatory policies, communal attitudes and continued genocidal actions of the state of Manipur truly justified this demand. Viral video, radicalized Meitei man burns down educational documents of tribal. In a viral video surfacing on various social media platforms, a Meitei man burnt the educational certificates and other important documents of one tribal by the name Lentonlal Mate of Kolam village, near Sugna tribal, Chundel district. The documents of Lentonlal Mate was said to have been seized by the Meitei radicalized groups when arsoning of tribal villages in the surrounding of Sugna area happened in the month of May, after the villagers reportedly fled their home when they were under serious attacks by the radical groups and Manipur police commandos. In the video, the man who seems to be in inebriated condition challenged the Kukis, saying as you guys are no longer part of Manipur, all your documents issued by the Manipur government and the concerned educational board have to be burnt down. On further investigation, the man in the viral video is said to be an employee of Indigo Airline who works as ground staff at Kempegowda International Airport in Bengaluru. TLM views, the viral video is just one among the many attacks on intellectual property of an individual belonging to Kuki-Zo community. During the initial stage of the ethnic violence, many students have faced the same fate wherein all their educational certificates and essential documents were burnt to ashes inside the Manipur University premises. Armed standoff, Meitei radicalized groups challenge AR. A video went viral on social media platforms wherein the armed combatants of the infamous Arambai Tangle faced off with troops of Assam Rifles at Sanjanthong Bridge near the CM's bungalow in Imphal on Thursday, 2 November 2023. The voice of one Arambai Tangle member can be heard saying the Assam Rifles are waiting at the CM's, we are already here and now and we'll see who wins, Casper, BP vehicle or not, we finished one round of gunfight for now. A background voice can also be heard calling for light machine gun, LMG, to the vicinity. In stark contrast to the recent claim of CM Biren Singh where he said that 90% of the state has been in peace, there has been reports of hundreds of radical Meitei youths attempting to take control of state forces armories in 1st and 2nd Manipur Rifles compound in Imphal the previous day. As is evident in the viral video today and weeks prior, the state's radicalized youths have openly flaunted their looted weapons, faced off the central forces in open area without any fear of reprimandation. This could only be possible as the Meitei radical youths are openly patronized by the chief minister and the titular King Sanajaba. However, all these threats and intimidating messages openly aimed at central forces never invited any legal action from the concerned authority. The case could however be different if all those were shared by a certain community. First, top leader of Manipur state, cabinet ministers deliberately missed cut greetings. The Chief Minister of Manipur, N. Biren Singh, has deliberately missed a traditional cut greeting to the people of Chinkuki Mizo on the auspicious occasion Cut Festival 2023 on November 1st, a state holiday. Greetings on the Shivang Cut Festival poured in from Her Excellency the Governor of Manipur Anusiya Yuki, the Chief Minister of Nagaland Naifia Rio, the All India Congress Committee, M. Karj, amongst others. However, greetings from the Chief Minister and his cabinet colleagues find no mention in the list. The ongoing ethnic cleansing pogrom of Manipur CM N. Biren Singh with the unconditional support from the majority community has rather rendered the cut day to be void of any celebrations as it usually was in the past years. The day itself has seen communal Meitei police commandos conducting combing operations in the hill town of Moor over the alleged claim of an SDPO-ranked police officer killed a day prior by armed miscreants in Moor town. There has been no visual of the so-called People's CM of Manipur N. Biren's greetings over the same unlike the previous years where he usually attended the celebrations as the chief guest and made speeches of unity, brotherhood and the likes. N. Biren, apropos to the office he holds, is expected to convey his greetings and wishes to the community befitting his position as the CM of the state. His personal emotion and leanings towards a certain community is consequential on this matter. His silence amidst the ongoing crisis speaks volume about his stand as the CM of the state. It may be inferred that the People's CM here is the Meitei People's CM, and that the office of the CM has intentionally ignored a particular section of the state population, which only points to the fact that the office of the Chief Minister is feudal to the Chinkuki Mizo community. It can also be inferred that the state CM has failed to differentiate his personal feelings and professional duties, thereby diluting the sanctity of the office he holds. The office and the official nonetheless had lost its credibility when the CM openly sided with a certain community instead of trying and finding ways to quell the violence in its initial days, and this blatant disregard only stands to reaffirm N. Biren's commitment to a group while outcasting another, and his impotence to hold the office, which also certifies the Kuki-Zo community of Manipur's demand for a separate administration, as is evident from the series of discriminatory acts of the Chief Minister. Who really is Ching Theon and Singh? Mr. Anand's colleagues remembered him as a pleasant, cheerful police officer who maintained a good rapport with locals in the border town, where there is a constant pressure of illegal immigrants and refugees fleeing Myanmar's junta, insurgents, looters and drug traffickers (NDTV), but who really is Mr. Ching Theon and Singh? On the second day of April 2010, a national newspaper The Telegraph reported the then CM Okram Abobi's promise to a magisterial inquiry over the suicide of a young girl, Kumucham Shyamasaki Devi, 24, a resident of Kukching Kuna in Thobal district after she consumed sulfuric acid, a day after she was allegedly raped. The rapist was none other than the respected police officer Ching Theon and Singh, then an inspector of the infamous Manipur Police Commando. The young girl was working at a private clinic in Mayung Imphal, Imphal West. Anand Singh was posted at Mayung Imphal police station, close to the clinic, and used to visit it frequently. The mother of the young girl was quoted saying the inspector raped my daughter at gunpoint and threatened her with death if she disclosed it to anyone. She disclosed about the rape before she committed suicide. An FIR was registered at Hoikim police station after Manamacha Devi, the mother of the girl, lodged a complaint. However, the culprit was never arrested and walked free till the time of his demise 23 years later in 2023. A joint action committee, formed by the residents of Kukching Kuna, submitted a memorandum to the then chief minister wherein they alleged that the inspector had raped Shyamasaki at gunpoint and threatened to kill her, her family members and her boyfriend if she told anyone about the rape. It also charged that the inspector took her signature on a sheet of blank paper after the rape. It claimed that Shyamasaki had made these disclosures to her mother and friends before her death. In another unsurprising event, Kanglanline, a news portal on October 2, 2016 reported a case on its portal about a certain officer in charge, OC, of Thobal Police Commando wherein the OC allegedly thrashed a police constable at Yarapok Faudal on the night of September 28, 2016. The OC in question is again none other than Ching Theon and Singh. The victim in the said case was identified as one Thokchum Roman, 33, of Sagaltomba Mamang Laikai, a rifleman of 1st IRB then attached to Thobal Police Commando. The victim's wife Thokchum Ganthoy said that her husband was thrashed while on duty at Yarapok Faudal waiting shed along with 3 other constables and an ASI. The OC was in an inebriated condition when he thrashed Roman, Ganthoy said. The victim was admitted to RIMS the next day, with worsening condition was then shifted to Raj Medicity. A complaint was lodged to the DGP and the SP of Thobal Police. But the culprit, like in the above-mentioned case, was never apprehended until the time of his death in 2023. The above 2 cases are a few examples of many instances where the recently deceased officer made his name. One can now conclude that late Ching Theon and Singh was not someone with a good reputation during his long service career as claimed by the majority Métis, but rather a rapist and perpetrator of crimes against humanity. Before he was allegedly shot dead by unknown miscreants, he was also remembered by many as one arrogant police officer devoid of humanity. Mention may be made that the Métis insurgent groups UNLF and others are strictly against rape culture in the society, and whoever committed such crimes were given death penalty. It was suspected that Anand Singh might have evaded the clutch of these insurgent groups, courtesy of his high position in Manipur police. Manipur government promate measures are stimulants for separate administration demand. The demand for separate administration by the Kuki people is assuming more significance in the light of the partiality shown every now and then by the government of Manipur. Such prejudices are evident again in the aftermath of the Moor incident wherein a Métis police officer was killed by unidentified gunmen. The antecedent of this police officer namely Ching Theon Anand showed that he is involved in a rape case after which the victim committed suicide. The Biren Singh-led government called an emergency cabinet meeting the same day and announced certain benefits for the deceased police officer. 50 rupees lakh as ex gratia and a government job to the next of kin was announced. Contrary to this measure, the government maintained a stoic silence to the killing of Kuki police officer who also met his fate while on duty. In the eyes of the Manipur government, Kukis are children of a lesser god and their lives do not matter as much as the Métis do. This is a fact nobody can deny. Another case that merits serious pondering is how CSOs from the valley and the hills are treated. The Manipur cabinet in its meeting on October 31 approved to recommend for declaration of the World Kuki-Zo Intellectual Council, WKZIC, as an unlawful association/organization under Section 3 of the Unlawful Activities, Prevention, Act, 1967. The decision was reached following a reported press release, although the WKZIC denied having issued the press release and said it was fabricated, on October 24 calling upon the Kuki-Zo community that during November, before the harvesting season, the community is likely to face another war, and urged the people to stock arms and ammunition to face any eventuality. The Manipur cabinet related the WKZIC press release and the Moor incident and thereby arrived at a decision to recommend the declaration of the WKZIC as an unlawful organization. In June this year, Métis Secessionist Outfits Frontal Organization Coordinating Committee on Manipur Integrity, COCOMI, in its People's Convention declared Manipuri national war against Chin Kukis. It also decided that the Meitei people should not give up arms till the total annihilation of the Chinkuki people from the soil of Manipur. It is not the time to recover/collect arms which were earlier handed over to the Meitei militias and said to be looted. Rather, the government should arm the Meiteis to achieve the objective of obliterating the Kukis. The Meitei-dominated Manipur government turned blind to this precarious step taken by the Meitei CSOs right under its nose. However, it now acted swiftly against the Kukizo body whose call, even if it did so, was way lesser in tone and tenor than the Meitei CSO did in June, despite various Kuki bodies including the apex Kuki NP Manipur, Kim, highlighting the matter and its possible ramifications to the government of India. Nothing has been done yet. All these partialities have happened because it is a Meitei-dominated government led by a bigoted Meitei radical. These injustices and selective amnesia have necessitated a political solution for the Kukizo community by way of a separate administration.